What the fuck?
Richie, where the fuck were you?
I just went to the basement to get some beer.
You went to the basement alone?
I asked her to come with me. She said no.
Stay the fuck back. Jesus Christ. I was with Tara, but the rest of you were wandering around. One of you is the fucking killer. Fuck you, Amber. Fuck you. Why is there blood on your hands? What? I found Chad. Chad? You're fucking lying. No.
You're the killer.
No, I'm not.
Liv,
no,
stop. Liv,
and just stop! Fuck you, Amber. I'm not the fucking killer!
I know. Welcome to Act 3.
Run!
Welcome back, horror movie fans, to the Complete Guide to Horror podcast. Today, BP, Coop and I are discussing Scream, the long-awaited 2022 prequel in the Scream universe. In this installment, legacy characters Sidney Prescott, Gale Weathers, and former Sheriff Dewey are called back to Woodsboro as Ghostface strikes again, this time targeting people who are connected to previous Ghostface killers. Who is behind this?
Time to pass the torch! It's all yours, bitch!
It's interesting to note, this movie was wildly popular at the box office, earning almost 3 times more in box office gross compared to the predecessor, Scream 4, ensuring a sequel was greenlit almost immediately. Scream 6 is due for release in March 2023, and no, that's not the official title for now, but interestingly, it will not feature the return of Neve Campbell, as recently she hid out at the studio for not meeting her pay demands. Could this be a sign of a publicity stunt or a weak script? More details about the movie have come out, which will follow the survivors from this installment we're just about to tear into, as they rebuild their lives in New York City. Fan favourite Kirby Reed from Scream 4 is also announced to make a comeback. Emma Roberts, who played Jill in Scream 4, also known as the villain for Scream 4, she's also discussed that she is interested in coming back to the Scream franchise. For now, our attention is on the Scream 2022 reboot.
No, it's not. To some people, the original is their favorite thing in the world. The movie that made them love horror, that mom or dad showed them when they were 10, that bonded them together. And God help anyone who slightly fucks with that special memory, who makes a movie they think disrespects it. It sounds like our killer is writing his own version of Stab 8, but doing it as a requel.
Which is?
See, you can't just reboot a franchise from scratch anymore. The fans won't stand for it. Black Christmas, Child's Play, Flatliners, that shit doesn't work. But you can't just do a straight sequel either. You gotta build something new, but not too new, or the internet goes bug fucking nuts. It's gotta be part of an ongoing storyline, even if the story shouldn't have been ongoing in the first place. New main characters, yes, but supported by and related to legacy characters. Not quite a reboot, not quite a sequel, like the new Halloween, Saw, Terminator, Jurassic Park, Ghostbusters, fuck, even Star Wars. It always goes back to the original.
So there was an 11-year absence between
another
Scream
one.
4. Yep, the power of 11. So I wonder, will there be an 11-year absence between Scream 5 and Scream 6? No. But with the news that Scream 6 is actually already in production.
And I heard filming is taking place weirdly in Canada.
I thought that was surprising because they filmed Scream 5, I was about to say in Australia, in America to get like tax credits and whatnot. Canada, you don't really get as many tax credits unless it's quite a long session. So a lot of TV series, I'm going to talk about Riverdale for the 50th time, but they film in Vancouver, British Columbia. So they get a lot of tax credits. That also happens to be an area where, oh, we need to film in a barn. Here's a barn. Oh, we need to film at a beach. Here's a beach. Like they have a lot of diverse filming locations.
Maybe it'll be called like Scream Tropicana or something. I don't know. He's gone to Canada to Vancouver or like Whistler and she's on the ski slopes or something and he's going up on the chair. He'll be like in the, I still know, I always know he did last summer where they're going up in the chairlift and it'll be going the other way with the knife.
God, I forgot about that movie.
He'll be peeing down with like a knife in one of the ski poles.
Yeah, taking it back to Scream 2022. So this is a reboot of a reboot of the original, and this movie takes many, many different meta references. So we have returning characters such as Sidney Prescott, we've got Dewey, we've got Gale Weathers. There's some parts that mimic what happened in real life with these actors. So for those that didn't know, Courtney Cox and I forget his name, but the guy who plays Dewey, they were actually married. David Arquette. They were married once upon a time. They actually did split in between Scream 4 and Scream 5 were released. So I'm not surprised that they wrote those characters to be divorced. It is surprising just how many references there are to the first one in particular. So not only do we go back to Stu Barker's house, we've also got returning characters, including Randy, the film genius character from the first three. He has a niece and nephew. And they even bring back his sister, played by Heather Matarazzo. So I love her. I know this is like a cruel thing to say, but I do not give a fuck about the main characters. I don't give a fuck about the new main girl or the main guy who's revealed to be the killer. I just think there was so much talent wasted. I think if they had taken the approach which was to follow Randy's niece and nephew because they're diehard fans of horror movies, you know, I personally see myself in them. Whenever there was a scene with them, they were the stars of the scene. But they also had Jenna Ortega, who's quite known to be a bit of a modern day Scream queen. So she's been in You Series 2, she's been in The Babysitter Part 2, she's been in X, which was just released, and you spoke about that before, BP. Whenever there was a scene that Jenna Ortega was in, I believe that she was in danger.
Absolutely.
She's such a good actress. Whereas, the other characters, I don't care. They could die, and I'd be like, well, bring back Jenna Ortega. Like, just put her on my screen.
yeah. I think they because I've got a couple of notes here. I only watched the movie earlier today, so it's still pretty fresh in my brain. But I remember, the opening scene with Ortega was really, really good. I thought that was a really good, strong opening scene. And then immediately, straight away, there's this scene where they're outside of like the new main person, Sam, I think it is. Yeah. And there's this laughable scene where her and the boyfriend, who ends up being the killer, are like, she's having her anxiety pills or whatever, and they're joking about like boner pills and stuff. And it's just some of the worst acting I've ever seen. And I was convinced when I was watching it that something meta was happening and that we're watching a bit of the new Stab movie because it was so bad. She gets the phone call from Wes, and I was yelling at the screen, "Don't go, that phone call's a recording," thinking that it's obviously like a trap, but it fully was meant to be Wes actually calling her. And I was like, oh, okay. But I thought that second scene, and it's probably just because the opening scene is really strong, and that, Jenna Ortega is a really, really good actor, that it just falls so short just after such a strong opening. I thought the movie overall was pretty good. I thought they managed to up the ante on the amount of references in this movie. Like it was an insane amount of references. But I was just sitting there, just in complete whodunit mode, just watching everyone. And I liked the idea that everyone in the movie was doing that as well, like to the point of it being funny. Like the scene where, and one of them is the killer, where they're in the basement getting the beer. She's like, "Oh, I set a trap for you. Like I told you to get the beer," and then they're faking out each other the whole time. I love that shit. I thought that was really good. And there was a particular scene with the retcon son of the sheriff when he's about to get killed, all the while his mum is bleeding to death outside. He never goes to check on her, idiot. But there's like 4 fake outs in that scene of like, oh, he's opening the fridge, and oh, he's opening the cupboard, and like when it does hit, it's not like a jump scare. I actually thought that was really good. I thought that was a good idea, that there isn't really any cliche jump scares as much as there is making fun of that throughout this movie. I thought that was pretty good. Overall, I thought it was, quite a good movie. I mean, obviously you got the sad shit of like Dewey dying, but I thought they killed him pretty good. I feel like we've pretty much seen him die a bunch of other times, because they make it seems like Dewey's going to die in every movie, and finally they did it. So I thought that was good. I thought once it got to the reveal, I thought it, like the last 10, 15 minutes of the movie was a bit not amazing. I actually think, and it's fresh in my mind, I have to watch it again to confirm this opinion, but I feel like it was better than the fourth one. I feel like it was very kind of similar to the fourth one in that it's in Woodsboro again, but I feel like they did more with the references and the way that the characters sort of interact, and a lot of the dialogue was heaps better in this movie. And what was the character? The niece of Randy? The best part was like right towards the end of the movie, I thought she died, and then she comes out alive, and I was like, yes, it's just like Randy in the first movie. She made it. Yeah, heaps good.
The part where she's doing exactly what Randy's doing in the first one, where she's like, turn around, and then she does turn around.
And she has that moment of like, hang on, why aren't I turning around? And then that was, I laughed out loud at that bit. I thought it was great.
I think her character overall was my favorite character in the whole movie.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily pick out that Amber was one of the Ghostface killers, but it's interesting. A lot of people who have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Wes Craven, by Quentin Tarantino, they said that she plays a very similar character to that. So when they started watching the new Scream, they said straight away, oh, it's Amber. So maybe that would have like fucked it up for some people, but
yeah, I knew the boyfriend had something to do with it. I knew he was one of them. I just didn't know who the other one was. The sort of the one that it ended up being. I don't remember their names, but yeah, she was on my suspect list, and I thought they did a good job with the red herring of the I don't know, what do we want to call it? The boring virgin? Is that sort of what they were going for? They just called her boring the whole time, and the whole time her boyfriend was trying to have sex with her. So I'm not saying she's a boring virgin. I'm just saying that's the movie told me she was a boring virgin. So.
There's that scene where they're all sitting on the lounge, and you know how they're like, someone here's got to be the killer, and they're all looking at each other. In that scene, Amber's not there. Does anyone notice that? And that's what I picked up yesterday when I watched it the second time. She's not in that scene at all, which made me question, is she working? Is she meant to be somewhere where it's kind of, oh, okay, she's there, so she's definitely not the killer. But that's not explained. She's not in that scene at all, which when I watched that movie, I didn't think of that. But when I watched it yesterday, I thought, well, that already kind of gives it away as a dead giveaway. That's what I sort of thought in my head when they're like, well, you must be the killer. And it's like, well, if you're someone... Does anyone notice that? She's not there.
I could have sworn she was there.
Maybe she wasn't not in any shots. I don't think she's there at all. Because when I watched it, I'm like, she's not there. And they did shots on everyone. So they're all looking at each other like, are you the killer? It's like, I don't know. You're the killer. Yeah. But I agree with Coops. The opening of this movie, it was really good. There was quite a few shots. There was one continuous shot, which I really liked. I think I like the continuous shot, especially when they're on the phone. It sort of, you're sort of like, you're getting really into it because it's just a continuous shot. There's the iconic scene of her sort of, grabbing the knife, playing with the knife, sort of thought of the first film again. They did that bit there. What else did I write? I thought killing Dewey was ballsy. And I'm like, well, it's the fifth film. I think it's about time that something major happened in the Scream franchise because, again, it's this whole thing of Sydney's coming back for a fifth time. I'm like, really? Like, she's got a kid and she's got a husband. And I do like that scene, though, where he rings her and says, do you have a gun? And she's like, I'm Sydney fucking Prescott.
Well, I thought his death was really good.
Yeah. And I noticed when he was dying, the music really hyped up. It was sort of quite bit of a gospel music playing there. Like, it was sort of like, you knew, like, it was pretty good killing from the front and then jab in the back. I thought that was pretty good.
As soon as the elevator doors shut, I was like, yep, all right, Dewey's down. Yeah.
And I like the shot of Gail getting out of the van. It was sort of that lead up shot, kind of reminded me of the first film again. It was doing, and she's in red. You obviously know who it is if you've watched the films prior, but I sort of like that reveal of the camera sort of going behind her and then revealing it's Gail. I'm like, oh, she's back again. But that was also a good sort of throwback to the original film. A couple of things I found with this movie that really bugged me was there's that scene in the hospital where the sister's in the, the kitchen and she's taking the call. Someone's called her. And then the killer is actually behind the door the whole time and then comes out when he goes, oh, I'm closer than you think. And then he shuts the door and then goes to attack her. When she's on the phone to him, I thought she would have heard him talking on the phone behind the door because she's not that far near him. And then no staff, no one seems to hear any of the commotion, only when she goes out and there's a random police officer there and she's like, there's someone in there. I just found that really odd that no one would have heard any of that.
Looking back now that I've watched all of the movie, I do think, I agree with you. I think that's silly. But watching it at the time, my thought was she's having a mental breakdown. Like, what she just saw, was that real or was this? Because, there's this thing about her taking antipsychotic medication. And I was like, I was thinking during this movie, is it just going to are they just going to do a fucking secret window on me? I was going to be really annoyed about it. That it's just, she's got two personalities and one of them's the killer. If that was it, I would have been so angry. But I thought it might have been like a red herring of that, like, is she going boffo? But
Mhm.
And the other scene I liked was with the 13 Reasons guy. That kill was really cool. I liked how it went through the neck and then went through the other side. I thought we haven't really seen that in a Scream really before.
My initial thought with that was because the way they shot it, it hell looked like he completely missed the jugular. And I'm thinking, why did that kill them? Because if you've completely missed the jugular and you're just playing with a bit of like flesh here, it just is like, oh, it's like in Monty Python, it's just a flesh wound. But no, he died. I'd also like to point out that that I feel heard in that there was a quote right near the start of the movie. It was like, oh my God, yes, amen, sister. When she was talking about the Babadook.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I completely agree with that analysis. That movie is dope. But I feel heard.
There was another shot as well where the knife goes through the hand. I think it's at the end, actually. I thought that was a really cool shot as well.
Well, there was a couple of knives going through hands in that movie because I know the opening, because I remember I was like, oh, in the opening bit where he breaks her ankle with his boot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then she goes to like put her hand up and he stabs right through her hand.
Yes, I like that shot.
So brutal. I'm hell surprised she survived that as well. When they said that she survived, I was like, oh, damn. I thought that was just like, opening kill. So the idea of the very first person that was meant to die surviving is a new take as well.
That shot would have been really good. Has anyone seen the movie Quarantine?
Yeah.
Do you know the end shot where she's sort of going towards the camera and then it pulls her off? I thought that's what was going to happen to her at the end, at the opening shot, but then it kind of went to the intro. And that's what I loved about Scream. They kind of do that really douchey music going over the intro of the title card. It's always sort of something like bow, 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 bow.
That movie got, just on that, Byron, that movie got such a bad rap, Quarantine, but that is by far probably my favorite.
One of my favorite movies.
One of my favorite movies. There was another one that came out a few years back called Hell House. LLC.
I just watched that.
That's pretty good, hey?
Yeah.
I was quite surprised. I was expecting it to be crap, but I was like, this is decent for found footage, hey?
Yeah. I think because Rec had come out, and then I think Quarantine was just the US adaptation.
The US version of that, yeah.
Rec
it's like 5 of them, so
is better than Rec 1.
Oh, okay.
Rec 2 is better than Quarantine 2 Terminal.
No, I would never watch Quarantine 2.
I don't think I ever watched that, hey?
Don't watch it.
Yeah. Then again, I think I've got like 4 or 5 Wrong Turn movies to watch. I thought there was only 3 of them, but there's like 6.
So
I think there's 7 now.
1, 2, the remake are really good, but 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 4 and 6 are all right, but 3 is like one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and 5 is pretty bad. But you should just watch them all.
Yeah, I might do that because Wrong Turn. First one's good. Second one's like sillier but more gory. And,
I like it.
And Henry Rollins is a treasure in that movie.
Yeah, I thought the Scream was pretty. I think it was a step up from 4. Yeah, it was pretty decent. I don't know really where they're going to go from here.
I think Dewey probably got the most limelight in this, and he ended up getting killed. But I'm not too sure sort of where they could go from this. I thought that was they could end it here. They could have ended it at 4, But I feel like I personally feel like they executed this better than 4 myself. I've got no idea what they would do from here.
I'll link the article from bloodydisgusting.com. I think his name's Chad, one of the producers. He said they're doing a risk it all approach for Scream 6.
Well, he would. His name is Chad.
Yeah. I wonder though, are there parts specifically written in this movie that do hint at a sequel? So for instance, the Sidney Prescott character reveals that she's married to Mark Kincaid, who was the police detective from Scream 3. That was a little Easter egg that was written in to say, like, no, look, Sydney has moved on. She has a full life now. Because the only reason she does come back to Woodsbury isn't because of a personal connection. It's because she has children now. So I guess if you want to...
That was a good idea. And I liked that she gets the phone call and straight away she's like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going back to Woodsboro. I was like, good. Yes. Thank you. Finally. Yeah. But then it's like, all right. Dewey died. You got to, and it's stakes are higher. Yeah. You've got kids. You got to protect them. I like that as a storyline of like, we've been through this so many times. Let's just fucking murder this guy. I liked that.
There were 2 parts of this movie where I think they would have like probably the most brutal kill where the Sam character slits the throat of her boyfriend. I was just like, holy shit, that's a bit much. Like I was definitely recoiling at that part. But also where she stabs him through one side of the cheek and it comes out the other cheek. I was
Yeah.
like, that's cool. Like,
Yeah,
I
very
really
cool.
loved that.
Yeah.
Did you both feel that the motivation for this was like on par with previous installments? There's been a lot of controversy online where people have said, oh, could they have done something else apart from it just being like horror fandom? But at the time when the kills were revealed, I remember thinking, oh, that's kind of stupid and like hating it. But now that it's been a couple of weeks since I've seen the movie, I have rewatched it since. I think the writers were definitely onto something. If you go onto like Reddit horror or Dreadit as they call it, or like any horror movie fan boards, there's plenty of people giving their hot takes, including us three,
Yep.
on what the writers could have done, what characters should have survived, this and that. But I don't know if necessarily that would translate into people doing their own killings for source material or whatnot. I felt maybe that was a bit kind of stupid in terms of like meta horror. But I also felt it kind of ripped off Scream 4 in a way, because like Jill's motivation was she wanted to be famous, she wanted to kill people on camera and whatnot. And I was like, that's kind of what Jill was doing, but I guess Amber and the boyfriend were just doing it because they were big fans of Stab, so they had to tie that meta element in somehow. I just don't know if it worked 100%.
During the reveal, I was like, okay, it's kind of similar to sort of what we've seen before. Two horror movie obsessed people meet in some creepy thread online, and then, you know, they make it all happen. During the last 10, 15 minutes after the reveal and all that kind of stuff, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. It kind of took away from it maybe a little bit in the end there, particularly the acting of the, what's their name? Amber. She just goes from 0 to 100, hey?
Yeah.
In those last couple of scenes, she's fully mental.
I think she's pretty funny in that last bit because I love it when she's like, well, I will, and then just shoots. There's a scene where she goes, and it's a really short scene, but it's really funny, and it just like, it quickly goes to that. And I love it that, you know, she turns on the gas oven, like the cooktop, and then falls into it, burns alive. You think she's dead, and then at the end when they shoot the other one, you hear her come out. And all I thought of was, I actually thought of Final Destination 3 with the tanning bed, but just thought it melted. That's what I thought of when she ran out. And I love that she just got shot from the side. But even when Gail and Sydney arrive at the house, and she's like, "Oh my god, I've been shot!" Oh, and then I think Gail turns to Sydney and goes,
It's like it's a
"Fake?"
trap.
And she's like, "Yeah." And then you see her like, yeah, that's good. I like that.
What did you guys think of Skeet Ulrich being in this movie?
I was actually about to ask this question too. So first of all, I was surprised he was in this movie because there was no mention of this in like any of the trailers, any IMDb casting, Wikipedia, nothing like that. So I know the whole angle for this Scream in particular was talking about prequels and reboots and how everything ties back to the original, but I still felt Skeet Ulrich was kind of unnecessary in this. Yes, he was brought back as like hallucinations and visions and everything because his illegitimate daughter or whatever is, you know, the new victim this time around. But there's some parts where the CGI looks decent, but for the most part, I knew, for instance, geez, that was a shit job at the de-aging process, or you know, you could see like the green screen around him in some parts. So it's like, Jesus, could they have like done this a bit better? But you know, I know how hard it is to do things like green screen. I know how difficult it is to do de-aging processes. That's why I don't do it. But these professionals that get hired to do these kind of things, I'm not ripping on Skeet Ulrich. I'm not ripping on the writers of this. I just think technically it could have been incorporated a bit better. You know, if she's going to have full-on visions of this Skeet Ulrich character, why not show him a bit more? You know, you see him at the hospital, you see him in the car. Why not show him as well in like other parts where it further emphasizes that this main character is like full on having a panic attack episode or a full on anxiety episode? You know, small things where like they could have inserted in more, like when they're at the house of Brandy's nephew and niece discussing who could be the suspect. Surely there could have been a part where she looks around and sees Skeet Ulrich, and that's why she also runs out of the house. But
yeah.
It just looked like a 50-year-old with lots of makeup on, I thought. It was just a little strange. They did what they could. I've definitely seen worse examples of shit like this. But the main thing I didn't like, and I just thought it was so cringy, was towards the end of the movie, just before she stabs him to death and, you know, gets in touch with her inner psycho. And she looks over to the mirror and he just like nods at her. I was just like, oh, that's so cheesy. Fuck off. Go away.
the scene where she's on the ground at the end and he sort of gives her the gesture of, hey, there's a knife over there. What
Yeah,
is-
yeah. Oh, it's so bad.
I actually got reminiscent thoughts of, if anyone's seen Harry Potter, particularly the last couple movies where sort of Harry's dueling with Voldemort and then his parents might pop up sort of in like a bubble to the side, like his mom or his dad sort of talking to Harry.
Exactly.
That's what I sort of got. And I just sort of thought, this isn't like a superhero movie. This isn't sort of,
That's right.
you know, a Marvel movie. So why are we kind of doing this like, oh, there's a knife under the magazines or under the curtains or something, like, you know, look over there. I just thought that was kind of,
Yeah.
and the interesting thing is when he's in the car and she goes through the stop sign, very reminiscent of Scream 4 when the three of them are in the car,
Yeah.
the girls.
Yeah,
And that's what I thought of straight away. I was like, I didn't know if that was intentional or that just happened to be a coincidence, but I did think of that straight away because I just obviously watched Scream 4 and I thought, oh, okay, they're doing the same scene.
I felt like that was intentional just because of how often the producers do talk about how they wanted to reference not only the Scream series, but Wes Craven's other movies. Like, there's surprisingly a lot of Easter eggs in this one. So there's definitely some parts that I've missed out on because I'm not that familiar with most of Wes Craven's filmography in the past, but you know, I'll read like an article and it's like, did you know this references Last House on the Left, or this references Cursed, or this references Red Eye? And I'm like, oh, it does too. I never thought about that. So completely separate from the Scream 5, there's some deleted scenes on YouTube of Scream 4 where they actually did do the same recreation of Scream, like how they're around the fountain, they're in the high school group talking. They did that for Scream 4 as well, but then cut out some of those scenes. I mean, I don't understand why they cut it out because it looked like it was quite integral to the storytelling aspect and also going on the whole parody of like meta reboots and whatnot. This one, like there's the other reference to where Red Right Hand by Nick Cave in the Bad Seeds, which has been featured in most of the Scream movies, the first two, the third one. I don't think it was ever mentioned or played in the fourth Scream, but it comes back in this one where Stu Marker's cousin or nephew or whatever, like it plays in the car when Ghostface turns it on and then he goes to see what it is and he gets killed. I like when they didn't just like shoehorn it in as like a last minute afterthought. Like clearly that was always meant to play at this part.
That was a good scene. I like that they brought the music back for Dewey. I don't know if you guys have noticed Dewey's boo doo boo doo. That music that has played, I think, since it was predominantly in the second one, but there's this music that plays, and every time you like in a scene or you'd see him on camera, it would play this cowboy music. It was great, and they brought it back in this movie. I like that.
In all these movies, I guess like credit doesn't go, like we don't talk about actual Ghostface and the voice itself, because even by this point when they pick up the phone, he's like, what's your favorite scary movie? I'm just like, it's so like but I find it so funny. And I think there's a scene, it might be in this one or it's number 4, where Ghostface is obviously messaging the girl at the on the phone, and it's like, answer the phone, bitch. And I like just things like that make me laugh because it's just so funny that it's been doing that.
I thought they played it out well in the opening scene where he's ringing because he knew his knew her mum from Group and all that. I thought that was good, that rather than just cutting right to it, there was sort of like a bit of build up of like, oh, well, how's he going to, how's this going to lead to answer questions or I kill you? And I thought they
and it intertwined in a little bit and went back to the normal voice, I noticed, and then it went fully into it near the end. It's good. I liked it.
This is one thing I only picked up, not when rewatching the movie, but there's an Instagram account called I Know What You Did Last Midsummer of the horror movie fan in New South Wales. I keep forgetting his name. He's probably going to kill me when I don't mention it, but he often shares like a lot of scenes from horror movies and whatnot. So I'm always sharing like screen caps of that to my Insta story. The part at the end of this Scream where Sydney smashes something onto Amber's face, I didn't realize that was hand sanitizer. I thought it was just vodka. Like I thought it was alcohol. That's why she burnt up.
When she said hand sanitizer and then like her eyes were stinging, I laughed heaps. I was like, yeah, all right.
I went back on that scene because I did the same thing, Justin. I was like, that's not hand sanitizer, it's a bottle of vodka, isn't it? But on her face, it just looks like hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
I love it. There's a behind the scenes shot of this movie, and I sent it to you, Justin, earlier before the movie comes out. And it's a photo of Ghostface I think it's in the scene where he kills, that drunk at the car when he's pissing at the wall, and it's a shot of Ghostface standing under an umbrella in the rain behind the scenes, just like waiting for his scene to like start. It's just really funny because he looks quite cute, just standing there with his own umbrella. Yeah.
Love it.
It was interesting. I was surprised there was no mention of. I guess they kind of did it with the Deputy Hicks character and her son getting killed. Like, I guess they were connection to Scream 4. But it's like, even watching the movie, I was like, oh yeah, Hayden Panettiere's coming on screen. Like, Kirby's going to appear at some point. I didn't pick it up the first time I watched the movie. I only picked it up, I think, reading like a list of Easter eggs and references about the movie, where I was like, oh, I wish I saw that a bit better. But I think my favorite part in this movie, and it's actually my favorite part out of all the Scream movies, is when they're having the argument towards the end, and they're like, well, why are your hands all bloody, and where were you, and what's this? And then Emma's just like, I know. I was like, holy shit, that was good.
I wish that chick got more screen time, the one with the red hair, whatever her name is. She didn't get a lot in that, but I actually liked her in the movie. I was kind of, and I liked how they did that, the app where it's like where the person is and it's coming closer, then he chunks
that was good.
Yeah,
that was good.
Did you know that app is actually a real thing?
Yeah, I've heard of it before. Yeah. A lot of parents use it for their kids and shit.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I know she'll never listen to
and probably psycho boyfriends for,
psycho girlfriends too. So I know she'll never listen to this podcast, but there was this former manager of mine back at when I was working at JMC Academy back in like 2013. She told me this story about how she put this app onto her fiance's phone at the time because she was so sure that he was cheating on her, right? The whole time he was going to wedding venues and jewelry places because he was planning to propose to her. So when he did propose to her, she already knew. So she just went, okay. And it's like, so you ruined your own proposal because you thought that he was cheating on you. But in reality, he was setting up things to make sure, I've got the right size, like, ring for her finger, had the right flowers because he was going to take her somewhere nice beforehand. And she ruined it for herself. So I kind of think, the biggest red flag for me is, like, I don't care if you want to look at my phone, but if you want to request to see where I am, I'm not giving you that. That's like Tinder swindler shit. I'm not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks.
I do want to say with this Scream as well, I do like how Courtney Cox and Neve Campbell, like, their involvement in the movie is quite minimal. Usually I would hate that because I love those characters, but I felt that it was a natural inclusion. There was a balance of screen time between Dewey in the first half of the movie compared to when Neve and Courtney Cox come in towards the second half. So it's like that balance between the new and the legacy characters, but as well seeing parts where they're being threatened with a knife by Amber doing the as you said before, BP, like, even with the boyfriend being like, sit the fuck down, Prescott. Like that is how I would, like, I do see those characters genuinely reacting like that because they're trying to think, shit, how the fuck are we going to get out of this situation for the fifth time? But also, it's not like it's not a Gale-centric, it's not a Sidney Prescott-centric movie. And I don't think it has been since the third Scream. But, they even make fun of it too, where, the killers are talking about how many times can you survive a movie, Sidney? It's we already killed Dewey, and I can't believe I get to kill you as well. Like, that level of, like, meta-analysis, I'm a huge fan of.
There's a scene where he's on the phone and Amber goes to get that other, the victim, whatever her name is, the one that gets attacked at the start. And she goes, she's not there. And he's on the phone. He's like, what do you mean she's not there? And she's like, she's not there. I like that because he's obviously, like, panicking. Where the hell is she? Yeah,
I do think, especially for an 11-year gap, like, first of all, they did do Wes Craven justice. I felt that they did, like, nods towards him, even, like, as blatant with the For Wes at the end, the party scene where they're like, to Wes,
Yeah, I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Like, it was a nice little nod to the original creator of the Scream franchise, and it didn't disrespect his legacy. It didn't tamper it in any way. But I am worried for the next installment. Like, what the fuck is going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. And then what are they going to call it? They're going to call it Scream with 2 M's? Are they going to call it Scream M&M or something? I don't know. Or Screaming or Screaming? I don't know. Like, they're just going to call it Scream 6 and just kind of I don't know what it's going to do. I just feel like they've kind of stuck themselves in the main side of it.
Scream,
Yeah.
New Beginning.
Oh, Jesus.
No, Scream Tropicana. Yeah,
That was right.
Maybe-
Yeah, Tropicana.
Maybe it'll be
it'd be
the
like Scream
Scream.
to the 3 or 5. Yeah,
I want to see more of Ortega on screen after her performance in that. It was awesome.
I mean, they made a ballsy move killing Dewey. So where do you go from here?
The only thing that I knew about the movie going in was that Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox were going to be in it. That's all I knew,
Yeah,
which was, yeah. I just heard that they were returning. It's like, cool. It's enough for me.
so, yeah.
We might get to a point where it's like Scream 78, Electric Boogaloo, and it's like
Mhm.
Sidney Prescott's great-grandchildren trying to restore the legacy because someone, big horror fan, has built like a robot version of Stu Marker.
It'll be the rocket ship from the final chapter.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, Coop, BP, I want to say thank you for co-hosting with me today. I think we've talked a lot about all the Scream films, and I guess we remain cautiously optimistic about the next installment. So, yeah, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime, anytime. Now, to our listeners, you can follow this podcast on all social media platforms in the description. Please reach out if you have any comments or if you have a hot take on any of the Scream entries, likewise, or any of our opinions. And if you didn't enjoy this podcast, well, get fucked. All right, thanks. Bye.